Okay, guys, we're gonna go over our trades for today. We traded three stocks. We traded AKER, CLPS, and RXT. Today wasn't very clean. We had several stocks that halted going up, but they did not hold up. They pretty much failed right out of the gates. Not right out of the gates, but on resumption. The only one that we did have that held up, probably one out of, I would say, 7 stocks, one out of 8 stocks that halted going up. So RXT is the one that I traded after a halt going up. Now this one was pretty interesting because it was an Amazon news. Amazon news came supporting this one. Basically, Amazon's going to invest. They're talking about investing in this stock RXT. So whenever that news came out, it jumped up from 1670 up to 1980, like a $2 move. Well, here you can see on the chart 1668, and then it shot up to 1858. So it moved more than 10%. So it halted going up. It halted at 1858 on resumption. I was watching this. So this was the third trade of the day that I had taken, and the previous trade that I took, whenever I placed an order to buy out of their halt resumption around that price where it halted, well, it dipped. It did not, move higher. So I was kind of hesitating on this one to do the same, or else I would have put an order at 1858, 1860. So when it resumes, I get filled there and then just squeezes up higher. That's the best entry, but that's kind of like a gamble because you just don't know what it's going to do. It's a 50-50 chance. I mean, you could analyze the chart and see, but there's really no chart to analyze on this stock just because there was no volume here, and then all of a sudden all the volume came in on this one candle. But so what you can do is you can go based off Vwap, and so this stock was above Vwap, showing strength, this orange dotted line on top of all the moving averages. And I guess one thing you could have done was kind of feel how the market was doing. So the market was pretty slow today. There wasn't a lot of action in small cap stocks. These kind of stocks, the ones that are under 10 million share floats. Tesla did have a big move, so probably that's where a lot of the interest was at. So what happened, I got filled around whenever I saw some green volume. So whenever it resumed, it popped up to like 1860. It came back down to 1850. Could have bought the dip, but I did not. I was afraid that it was gonna fail. So once I saw that there was green volume coming in, buying on the buy side, people were interested. So I jumped in as well. Got filled around. Trying to get filled at 1875. Ended up getting filled around 1882, and it came up to 1890 and $19. It was kind of struggling here, so I was kind of thinking about taking profit. It ended up breaking through that level pretty strong, came up to 1945. I did not take profit. I was waiting for the bigger move, got a little bit greedy on that one. And as it came down, I got out around 1925. So from 1882 up to 1925, nice little about 50-cent profit, 50-cent profit there. So that was a pretty solid trade. I was pretty satisfied with that one. I'm disappointed that it did not hold up. I mean, on this next candle, it popped up to 1935. It looked like it was going to break this high of 1945, but it did not. It was a false break, maybe a bull trap, and it came all the way down to 1820. Tapped VWAP. Here it bounced back up to 19. I did think about taking this trade. There was an entry at 1850 where I saw that there was a accumulation of buyers. I thought about jumping in there for a squeeze up to 19, but I did not take that trade. And as you can see here, it did not hold that level. It just came back to VWAP and it failed. Right now, it did come back up. This would have been a nice entry here, 1807, maybe a tap of the 9 moving average, this gray line. That's a doji, or actually it's a candle indicating a reversal. So you could have watch that and be like, well, this looks interesting here, but again, you're buying below VWAP. It's definitely a riskier setup. And here you can see that it did come back up, came all the way back up to near the high. Well, actually it broke the highs 1980, It broke it by about 40 cents, and then it's coming down to Vwap. This one's gonna be pretty interesting to see what it does once. So here you can see that it came up to Vwap, and then it just kind of sat there for a little bit. But this one will be interesting to see what it does. I've got a feeling that this one might keep on going up just because, you know, if Amazon does invest in it, but that's a swing trade. It might present opportunities for day trading later on down the road, but for now, we'll just leave it alone. Then we traded AKER. AKER, let's see, this was, look at the daily chart. This was a risky trade because down here on the daily chart, this is a daily chart, you can see that it was trading at the 200 moving average, this purple line. Here you can see that it came right up to that level, found resistance, it failed, came up to that line, found resistance, it failed. So that here, right here, it broke it, but it failed. This one, it broke it and it's failed. And so, but I went ahead and took it because I had gone basically all morning without taking any trades, and I just kind of was like, man, I need to trade something, which is not the smart thing to do. You don't want to do that because once you start doing that, you're just kind of asking for trouble. So the way this one looked out of the gates, I was not watching it because it was not gapping up or nothing. I started watching it whenever it came on the scanner. It broke the high of day of 613. Came on the scanner as it was moving up. I saw that it was near the halt that was going up. So I jumped in. It popped up to 640, and it kind of slowed down. And then I saw volume coming in at 43. So I jumped in, threw my order to buy some shares. I got filled around 50, 52. It did come up to 60, up to 660, and I did not take my profit there. I was up about 10 cents, 8-10 cents. I decided to kind of hold off on it, which I should have just taken profit because I did jump in pretty extended. I mean, the right entry would have been 620 way down here, so I was 30 cents extended, and very definitely risky. So once it did not break that level, I was like, okay, well, maybe we'll get a little tiny micro pullback here. Nope, it came down to 640. I ended up just cutting the loss there at 640, and I was done with it. And I got out. It did come back all the way down to 623. So I mean, that's what I don't want. From 40 down to, or from 650 down to 623. That's a 30-cent loss, and that's what I do not want. I kept it small. It was a 10-cent loss. I should have waited for the 1 minute pullback here. 652 would have been the entry there for a squeeze up to 684, but I got impatient. And then the correct entry. Well, this is the correct entry here at 652 for a micro pullback candle to make a new high. 652, but this candle opened way down here around 626. So if you jump in up here, you're already in 25 cents extended. So it would have been nice to have maybe this candle with a little bit of smaller range, and then this next one, for the candle to make a new high. That would have been a clean setup. This small pullback with lighter green volume, and then this one with a little bit, as soon as you see the green volume coming in, you jump in for the move higher, break high day, just take your profit. And if the setup would have been set up nicely, it would have worked. Well, maybe not today as clean because stocks are a little bit tricky today, a little bit on the slower side. So that was that one. The last trade that we took was on CLPS. Here on CLPS, we got in on after a halt going up. So this was, let's see. Here we can see that it out of the gates it failed, came all the way down to 360. This stock did have a nice red to green move here, broke 390, squeezed up to 415, pulled back here. Then it made a move up to 430. It halted going up at 430, halted for 5 minutes. I jumped in. On this one, I placed orders. Basically, as soon as the market as soon as the halt resumes from the halt, the stock resumes from the halt, I was gonna get filled. I placed the order at 440. It opened at 440. What I was expecting was break of 440, 445, 450, squeeze up, you know, possibly even a halt going up again. But I guess something that a red flag would have been that the pre-market high was 440, and it was a red candle, big red candle. It was a little bit lighter on volume, but it was still a red candle nonetheless. So that kind of shows resistance there. And I went ahead and took the trade. I think I did see it, but I just decided to go for it, you know, just because there was nothing moving. So I decided to go for it. Got filled at 440. It did not break, and I stopped out around 430. So 10-cent stop. It did after I stopped out. It came all the way down to 421, but it turned around and came back up to 450. And then on this candle, it just, you know, failed. This one it popped back up, but it did not hold up. So I think the way I traded this one, I did okay because, well, other than kind of being impatient with the entry, but as far as my exit strategy was fine because I did not hold on this move all the way down to 421. That would have been, you know, an extra 10-cent loss, which is unnecessary from 440 down to 420. I just kept it tight, stopped that at 430. I could have kept it even tighter, but I just gave it a chance to move. I gave it some wiggle room. All right, guys. So today, just to summarize, you know, we did not have anything. Actually, we did have. What was that stock? Mbot. Mbot. We did have a small opportunity out of the gates on Mbot. We had a small gap and go setup, but it was definitely risky. Here at So the high of this candle was 1178. Let's see. We'll mark it with this line. So 1178 was the high of that candle. So we know that, okay, a break of that candle, potential gap and go setup. You know, you break that level, you have resistance here on this candle, and on this candle. So this is a pretty significant level. And usually, as soon as the market opens, that's when you have volume that pours in the stock. So, but on this one, on this stock, I was kind of hesitating because we did have this huge red candle here from 1210 down to 1140. Then we had this other big one over here, and it was just kind of, I was on the edge about it. I wasn't too sure, but it did offer a tiny opportunity from 1178 up to 1195. I mean, you know, 20-cent squeeze. It found resistance at $12, and then here it just flushed. It flushed on hard down to 1138, 1133. So it was weak. And a red to green, of course, from 1174 up to a high of 1220, or actually 12. But this wasn't clean right here. Probably the cleanest move would have been on this little small tiny gap and go setup, but then again, you know, it's pulled back here, so you probably wouldn't have been able to get filled any shares up here on this pop, so most likely it would have been a red trade. So it was good on my part that I kind of just sat tight on it. I did not get impatient with it and jump in. Today there wasn't anything that really held up nicely. Tesla, higher, more expensive stock. I think that's where all the attention was at. But as far as small caps, gap and go did not work. Micro pullbacks didn't really work as clean. Vwap setup wasn't working. So we'll just kind of sit tight, I guess, tomorrow and just see what pattern decides to be the one that's going to work. But as of now, there's nothing to really trade, or nothing that we can watch and be like, okay, well, this worked nicely today. Tomorrow we need to watch through this. So just we have to be careful tomorrow and just be patient and let the trades come to us.